This is the electronics from a Kriesler 1961 model 1188 stereo, and it was given to me in the late 90s. It had had the power transformer removed and also the selector switch, which would normally go from the turntable to the radio. That also did some high tension switching. So there was a lot of wires in this section of the radio cut. And so what I had the thing about 18 years, maybe 17 years or something like that. So I finally got around to having a look at it to get it going. Now I thought, because it's got a lot of wax paper capacitors in it, that they would be leaky, and also some of these electrolytics could have been leaky as well. And so I thought I'd employ a slightly different technique to servicing it than I normally do. If it was transistorized solid state, you'd put it on a variac and gradually wind up the variac and get the electrolytics particularly used to the voltage coming up on them again. But being valve and heaters that need to be up near their normal operating voltage to give enough emission, what I did, rather than just putting a new transformer on it, I've got two transformers. The back one is just for 6.3 volts. Actually there's three transformers. This one is the normal 285 side and 6.3 volt transformer, but I'm not running this at full voltage through an isolation transformer. I'm running it at half voltage, so this is running off 120 and providing half high tension, and the back one's giving the normal 6.3 volts. So this is an alternate way to using a variac. If it was a radio that had its original power transformer and hadn't been butchered for parts like this one, what you would do is just come along and disconnect one side of the 6.3 volt winding and connect this 6.3 volt tranny to it, and then the main power connection for the radio could be varied up and down with your variac, or poor man's variac, the isolation transformer on 120 volts. And that way you can bring the voltage up on the circuit slowly and start to see if things become amiss. Obviously from a servicing point of view, if it was somebody else's radio, you'd almost just replace all of the paper capacitors and electrolytics to start off with, and that would give it some future reliability. But from the aspect of actually circuit tracing and finding faults and things like that, to be able to bring up the volts slowly and find problems without causing any damage means that you can fault find the circuit, find faulty components, and learn something in the meantime. You might end up replacing a whole lot of capacitors anyway because they're just not any good anymore, but at least you're learning along the way. And in this case too, the meter I've got on the right hand side there, the analog multimeter, that's got a range doubler switch. So if you're on the 10 volt range, the sensitivity goes down to 5 volts. So when I'm operating on half high tension for this, with that range doubler switch, you can almost make out that the readings are in full high tension, so you can get the same volts as you would if you're running at full voltage. Anyway, having got that all set up and switching it on, lo and behold, I got some sounds, but they were at the wrong voltages and on the high tension. I ended up replacing this capacitor and this one and that one and that resistor. The resistor is the back bias resistor, which had gone high in value, and the capacitors had all gone leaky. These two capacitors here, they were coupling capacitors to the 6M5 output valves. They were 0.022s. The back bias resistor was a 56 ohm resistor, and this one here was a 0.047. Yeah, so I don't know how in focus this will be, but so they're the 0.022s, the 0.047 to ground off high tension 2, and the back bias resistor there. So it all worked quite nicely on half high tension, which I'll let you hear.
No. 1300 222 702. We're talking about disability. International Day for People with a Disability is tomorrow. What about when the disability is not apparent to others?
So that's running on two little oval speakers as test speakers. on half high tension, so that would be quarter output power. But then I take the isolation transformer out, which is running the plate supply on 120 at the moment, and gas goes straight into 240 on this one, and off it goes on full high tension now, and it performs really very well. Unfortunately, I never got the rest of the stereo with this, so it's probably going to have to be put in a box and just used as a radio with an auxiliary input. But at least it's all up and running again, which for something that had been abandoned for years and ratted for parts isn't too bad. But apart from just showing you the repair of it, what I did for the repair, this servicing method I think is worth recommending. So if you have a variac, a 6.3 volt tranny, you can be very, very gentle to these valve circuits, bringing up the voltage but still getting the emission from the valves, and find your way through the circuit that way and find the fault in a really logical manner. All the best. Bye.